Today, I am doing a video on a wrestler that is a personal favorite of mine, a guilty pleasure, have you not? Because today we look at Sid Vicious. That's right, I'm going to go through and look at all the magazine covers with Sid Vicious, Sid Justice, Sycho Sid, you name him, he will be on the cover. This is December 1989 at Pro Wrestling Illustrated. It's the young and the restless. The NWA's future is in their hands. I'm not sure what Sid's wearing there. Maybe, is that a skyscraper look, or is that just, I don't know. It's an interesting look he's got going on there. Wrestling Superstars, Spring 1990. The superstars of the 80s pick the superstars of the 90s, and there's Sid Vicious along with Sting, Ultimate Warrior, Lex Luger, and Flying Brian Pillman. That's some good company to be there, right? That's especially with Sting, Luger, and Warrior. Those are world champion wrestlers. Inside Wrestling, December 1990. Halloween Havoc Horror, Why Sting is Spooked by Sid Vicious. Sting defending the title against Sid at Halloween Havoc 90. They had that schmoz of an ending, and it shows it right here on Sports Review, February 91. At the top there, you see Sid's got Sting in a reverse chin lock, and there's Barry Windham dressed as Sting. Sid thought he was WCW champion that night, and of course, it got taken away. Match got restarted, and Stinger was victorious. Wrestling Superstars, February 91. Wrestling Superstars forecast, wrestling's next champ, Sid Vicious, U.S. heavyweight champ. Well, Sid did win the U.S. title, but it was in the year 1999. It was not in the year 1991. Sports Review Wrestling, March 91. We get 1990, the year in pictures, and look at the bottom there. We get the Four Horsemen, Arn Anderson, Barry Windham, Ric Flair, Ole Anderson, and yes, Sid Vicious as a horseman. On a personal note, let me just say this about that version of the Horseman. My favorite version is the Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and Barry Windham version. That's no doubt. That's probably everyone's favorite. My second favorite is Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and Lex Luger. But my third favorite is the Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Barry Windham, and Sid Vicious version. I thought that was a really cool group in 1990 and 91, and I feel like they don't get enough respect because for some reason Sid gets shit on at times, and I don't know why, but I like the group. Wrestling Superstars, June 91. It's for the Strongest Man competition. There we see Sid Vicious at the bottom with Hulk Hogan, Steve Dr. Death Williams, and the Ultimate Warrior. Wrestling 91 Summer. We get Sid Vicious versus El Gigante on the bottom there. That was the big match going into Super Brawl that year. And I believe that was Sid's last match with WCW. He was on his way out of that company. August 91, Wrestling Superstars. We get an in-depth analysis of the sports top 20 stars. They show Sid Vicious and Brian Pillman there from the NWA, WCW, whatever you want to call it. But Sid, of course, was on his way out, and we'll see that coming up after this magazine. Sports Review, August 91. It's a look at wrestling from A to Z. We see Sid on the cover with Hogan, Flair, Luger, and the Warrior. Again, good company to be involved in. But here we go. September 91, Sports Review Wrestling. Can Sid bring real justice to the WWF? That's right. Sid Vicious, no more. He is now Sid Justice. He's in the WWF as a good guy. Groomed to be the next Hulk Hogan and take his spot. And the Hulkster's going to give the rub to him. And Inside Wrestling, September 91 proves that. It says he's in the WWF and he's in the biggest trouble of his life. Now, is he though? Hogan and Sid were technically going to be teammates. They were going to be as one, and SummerSlam 91 proved it, which we'll get to in a second. Pro Wrestling Illustrated, October 91, Sid Justice, the second coming of Hulk Hogan. Sweet photo there of Sid on the cover. I like that. Here we go. Inside Wrestling, December 91. A night to remember. SummerSlam provides heat for the cold months ahead. There we see Sid as the special guest referee for the match involving Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior against the Triangle of Terror, which was Sergeant Slaughter, General Adnan, and Colonel Mustafa in the main event. The match made in hell, even though Bobby Heenan said that the wedding with Randy and Liz was the match made in hell, but technically that was the match made in heaven. Sports Review Wrestling, December 91, Hulk Hogan to Sid Justice. It's up to you, kid. So there it is. Hogan's passing the torch to Sid, I guess, right? That's what the WWF wants us to think. It's what the magazines want us to think. And to be fair, I was 10 years old when that happened, and I was okay with it. I was okay with the thought of Sid being the guy to take Hogan's spot. Mainly because I like Sid, right? WWF Magazine, December 91. Sid Justice sets his sights on the Snake. So Sid was supposed to be team captain at Survivor Series 91 of the tag team champions Animal and Hawk, the Legion of Doom, and the Big Boss Man against Jake the Snake Roberts, who was captain of his team of Earthquake and Typhoon, the Natural Disasters, and Irwin R. Shyster, also known as IRS. That didn't happen. Sid got injured. Jake got taken out of the match, became 3-on-3 instead. Sports Review Wrestling, February 92. Wrestling's top stars, what 1992 has in store for them. We see Sid Justice now, as it says there, no longer Sid Vicious, Sid Justice, along with Hulk Hogan, Sting, Ric Flair, and Rick and Scott Steiner. Wrestling Superstars, February 92. The wrestlers who will make 1992 sizzle. We see Sid Justice once again there with Rick and Scott Steiner, Brian Pillman, and the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Sports Review Wrestling, March 92. It is 1991, the year in pictures. Lex Luger, Roddy Piper, Ric Flair, Sergeant Slaughter, Hulk Hogan, Scott Steiner, and yes, Sid Justice, all there. Bicep poses by Steiner and Sid as well. Nicely done. March 92, Wrestling Classics. The Body's Beautiful. Look at this. This is a stacked magazine cover. We got Hulk Hogan, Lex Luger, Superstar Billy Graham, and Sid Justice all on the cover there. Talk about a lot of muscle, a lot of power right there. They ain't no Johnny Paint Cans, right? That's a term that a friend of mine online always says about skinny guys. Those guys were big, muscular, and they proved it right there in that photo. And Sid was like, what, 6'9", 6'10", 330 pounds, I think. It's impressive. The WWF Magazine, March 92. We get WWF champion Ric Flair right there with Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper, The Undertaker, and Sid Justice. One of those men would be wrestling Flair at WrestleMania 8 for the championship. And, of course, Sid thought he was going to win. He was standing up thinking he was going to win it. And President Jack Tunney gave it to Randy Macho Man Savage, thus setting up this match here, April 92, WWF Magazine. We got Flair and Savage, and we got Sid Justice and the immortal Hulk Hogan. That was the main event of WrestleMania 8, Sid and the Hulkster in a one-on-one, no title, just a grudge match. Hogan won by disqualification thanks to interference with Papa Shango. And, of course, we saw the return of the Ultimate Warrior to help the Hulkster. May 92, Inside Wrestling. WrestleMania will be their battleground between Sid Justice and Hulk Hogan. So gone now is the talk of Hogan passing the torch to Sid to pretty much now Hogan going to be destroying Sid. From what I understand, Vince McMahon was pretty unhappy with Sid wanting to go heel and feud with Hogan. And I think in Sid's mind, he thought the money was to be made feuding with Hogan because he knew all of Hogan's opponents, when they wrestled Hogan, made out pretty well in the paycheck situation. Hogan drew. Fans came out. Even in 1992, Hogan drew. It wasn't until 93 when fans stopped kind of caring about the Hulkster in the WWF. In 92, he did okay. he got booed a bit at the Royal Rumble when Sid and Hogan got into it. I think fans were, like I said, fans were more so for Sid than Hulkster. But yeah, Hogan still drew in 92, and Sid knew that. Sid would leave the WWF after WrestleMania 8, and we wouldn't see Sid Justice again until 1993, May of 93 at that, at WCW Slamboree, when the return of Sid Vicious happened in WCW, and he immediately tagged up with this man, Big Van Vader, the WCW champion, and they've tagged up at Beach Blast 93 against Sting and the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith. Sid and Vader would be called the Masters of the Power Bombs. In September 93 of The Wrestler, we see it here. Insiders reveal Sid Vicious will double-cross Big Van Vader. Actually, it was the other way around. Big Van Vader kind of got double-crossed Sid. Sid became a good guy for a brief moment. And I believe all that was set up. I think there was angles and such set up in the fall of 93 after Halloween Havoc, but things didn't work out because of what happened over in Germany, I believe it was, with Sid and Arn Anderson, and everything got scrapped. And Sid versus Vader at Starrcade 93 was no more. It became Ric Flair versus Vader. So maybe Sid would have became WCW champion at Starrcade 93. I don't know, right? We'll never know now. November 93 of Pro Wrestling Illustrated, a no-holds-barred special issue. It's the WCW Mid-Year Report. And we get a picture there of Big Sid returns. And he's on the cover there with Vader, Flair, Bulldog, Dustin Rhodes, and Sting. Again, good company to be involved with on a magazine cover. All popular, all main eventers. Winter 93 of Wrestle America. A powerbomb explosion at Starrcade. Finally, Vicious versus Vader. So yes, here it is. Let's see if there's got to be stuff in here, of course, about that because they're talking about it here. Let's see if I can find. Yeah, right there. Finally, Vicious versus Vader. So it was set up to happen at Starrcade 93, like I said. And it went to Ric Flair. The Wrestler, February 94. Sid Vicious and Arn Anderson double stabbing stuns WCW. There it is right there. Made the cover of The Wrestler. How interesting that they're covering a real life issue. That is a real life issue. They got in a real fight. They really did stab each other. It was insane from the story I heard. I've heard wrestlers talk about it in shoot interviews, like the Nasty Boys and such talk about it. And it sounds pretty insane what happened over there. Wrestling Superstar, Spring 94. We have Sid on the cover here. It says Sid, Vicious or Not. We also got Hogan on the cover. And we got the natural Dustin Rhodes on the cover. Now, Sid would disappear for a year or so. I believe, if I remember correctly, he went back to Memphis, USWA, had a run as USWA champion, and then was brought back to the WWF. And he was brought back because Shawn Michaels needed a new bodyguard. Diesel and Shawn were no longer together. Diesel was champion. Shawn wanted the title. He knew he needed a bodyguard, bigger, badder, better than Diesel. So he got Sycho Sid. Sid returned in 1995, wrestled for the WWF. No magazine covers with him on during that time frame in 95. Nothing. He didn't make a single cover that I saw, that I looked at. He left the WWF late 95, early 96. I believe he was on the Raw in 1996 where they're all wearing football outfits. I think he tagged up with the 1-2-3 Kid. They fought Razor and Savio, Yoko, and Owen, and I believe, was it the Smoking Guns, maybe? If that sounds right. I don't know now. It's been a long time since I saw it. But Sid left. He went back to the USWA, became USWA champion again, feuding with the likes of Jeff Jarrett and Jerry Lawler and all that in Memphis. He got the call to come back to the WWF when the Ultimate Warrior left the company once again in summer of 96. He comes back as a good guy this time, tagging with Shawn Michaels and Ahmed Johnson to feud with Camp Cornette, who, of course, is Yokozuna, the British Bulldog, and Owen Hart. Sid and Shawn became best of friends, almost like Diesel and Shawn. You know, that they kind of played that off. And then eventually Sid defeated Vader to get the #1 contendership to the title. And we have it coming up here, December 1996 of the WWF magazine. We got Sycho Sid, friend or foe? Answer to be determined at Survivor Series. So that was coming up. Pro Wrestling Illustrated, winter 96, we get the PWI 500. We get Sid on the cover with the likes of Jushin Thunder Liger, Nature Boy Ric Flair, Sting, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, The Giant, the franchise Shane Douglas, Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, and Wildman Mark Merrow. Wow. All right. Mark Merrow makes the cover there with all those guys. Mark Merrow was good, don't get me wrong, but a lot of main eventers there. I don't think Mark Merrow is a main eventer. I think he'd even tell you that himself. 1997 Wrestling Annual. We get the NWO with Nash, Hogan, Hall. We get Rey Mysterio. We get Shawn Michaels. And yes, we get Sycho Sid on the cover as well. All right. It's now time for an entire magazine for Sycho Sid with the WWF Spotlight. That's right. Sid even got a spotlight. He was the last spotlight, I do believe. I don't think there was, I don't remember seeing any after this one. Sid was the last one. Unfortunately, I do not have the poster in here, which sucks, but it is what it is. This magazine was very hard to find for some reason. The Sid spotlight for me was very hard to find. Maybe it's because it was the last one or a later one. I don't know, but I have it. That's all that matters. It's in the collection. And look at him, Sycho Sid, ruler of the world. And the other 8 planets for that matter. We got WWF Magazine, February 1997. I did what I had to do, but I lost what I have to have. Can Shawn Michaels come back? Shawn Michaels and Sid, Madison Square Garden, Survivor Series 96. Fans were cheering Sid on like crazy and booing the Heartbreak Kid. New York fans were tired of Shawn Michaels' fancy boy toy, sexy boy, dancing routines shtick. They didn't want it anymore. Sid to them was a man's man. They wanted Sycho Sid to be champ, and he did it by taking a video camera and hitting Jose Lothario in the chest with it, knocking him down, powerbombing Shawn, and getting the 1, 2, 3, becoming the new WWF champion. The Wrestler, March 97. We get 1996, the year in pictures. We see the NWO, we see Sting, we see the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, we see Sonny, and we see Sid. Championship fire finally lit. Pro Wrestling Illustrated, April of 97. How winning the title saved Sycho Sid's sanity. So there's a picture of Sid there at the belt again. On the cover of PWI. Sid would hold the belt, losing it to the Royal Rumble to Shawn. He'd win it back on Raw a month later from Bret Hart. And he'd go into WrestleMania 13 to defend the championship against The Undertaker. April 1997, WWF Magazine. There it is. Undertaker, Sid, Bret, and Shawn. Of course, Bret versus Shawn was supposed to take place. It didn't happen. It was Austin and Bret. To me, I look at this magazine kind of like as the WrestleMania 13 program in a sense, because it's just full of like WrestleMania 13 goodness, right? It's got like, and WrestleMania past stuff in it. Let's see what else is in here. Talking about The Undertaker, final word, currently Undertaker coming for Sid and all that. So it's just a very good book to have if you were a fan of WrestleMania 13. Definitely get that one. June 97 of The Wrestler. Sid brutalizes Bret. Hey, Shawn, this one's for you. So that would Sid and Bret were supposed to wrestle each other at In Your House. What one was it? Revenge of the Taker? I think that one was called April of 97. Undertaker wrestled Mankind for the title at it, where Mankind would head first through the table in that spot, if anyone's seen that. Sid was supposed to wrestle Brett. Sid got injured leading into it. Brett injured him or something, and then Steve Austin took Sid's spot. So, yeah, I mean, Brett was supposed to wrestle Sid. Sid would leave the WWF after 1997. His last appearance in 1997 was on a Raw. And I believe it was the Raw in the summer. It was July, where Steve Austin had to pick a partner to wrestle Owen and Bulldog for the tag titles. And various wrestlers came out on the stage wondering who's Steve going to pick. And Sycho Sid was actually one of them. And that was the last appearance, I believe, of Sycho Sid in the WWF until like 2012 when he came back to powerbomb and beat up Heath Slater. But Sid would take off 1998, but he would make a return in 1999. And he would make a return to ECW. That's right, Sid was now in Extreme Championship Wrestling, and he debuted at Guilty as Charged 99, where he powerbombed and pinned former Eliminator John Kronus, pretty much squashing Kronus. And Kronus left the company after that. He went to XPW in California. But yes, Sid was in ECW for a short time. To quickly run down Sid's ECW run, it goes a little something like this. He beat John Kronus at Guilty as Charged. At House Party 99, the next event that just right after Guilty as Charged. House Party 99 took place at the ECW Arena a week later. Sid was there. And I believe he defeated Skull Von Crush, who was Vito, Big Vito or whatever in WCW, with Johnny the Bull. Sid was managed by Judge Jeff Jones, who you might remember managing Mike Awesome in his ECW run. Sid would go on to just wrestle these guys like I think Kronus was around still for a little bit. I think he beat Kronus again at the Elks Lodge or something in New York, I want to say. And I think he beat Steve Corino because Corino wasn't really much of a, he was kind of a job boy then still. He was like Chris Candido's boy, right? Like always messing with Taz. I think he beat Skull Von Crush again. But then at Living Dangerously 99, the Dudley Boys were wrestling Spike Dudley. Spike needed help. Who was his tag team partner? Sid Vicious. Actually, he was just called Sid, I believe. He wasn't Sid Vicious. He was just Sid. Sid comes to the ring, helps out Spike, and they beat the Dudley Boys. And Sid and Spike are victorious. Sid ended up competing and that was in March. So Sid ended up competing at May at the Hardcore Heaven pay-per-view against Justin Credible. And Justin kind of got the best of him because Sid was on his way out. Sid ended up powerbombing Judge Jeff Jones, and then he left the company. And he went to WCW. And he went there to help out Randy Macho Man Savage in his feud with Kevin Nash. And here we go, Inside Wrestling, November 99. Crash at the Bash. Enter Sid Viciously. So Sid is now in WCW again, helping the Macho Man Randy Savage out. And Sid's last magazine appearance that I have on the cover is August 2000, a PWI. It's for Supercards 2000. It has Super Crazy winning the TV title. It has The Rock over top of Stephanie McMahon. Looks like he's getting ready to deliver the People's Elbow. And it has Sid versus Jeff Jarrett for the WCW World Championship at WCW Uncensored. So that's Sid's magazine run for covers. Now, to me, Sid was always cool. I always liked Sid. I always thought he was neat to see. He's not a good wrestler, let's be honest. He's like 6'9", 6'10", 330 pounds, but he was powerful. He did a lot of cool things. He had a cool look to him. You know, when you looked at that guy, you knew he was something special. You didn't know what he was or what he, you know, if you didn't watch wrestling, you wouldn't know what he did or what he was about, but you knew he was someone special. And that was Sid. And for me personally, my favorite era of Sid was actually Sycho Sid. I did like that the best. Sid Justice was good. It was okay. Sid Vicious, you know, in WCW, NWA, it's like it is. It is what it is there. Sid in ECW was neat for the 15 minutes he was there. But by the way, when Sid was in ECW, he always just wore jeans and his vest. That's it. He'd take the vest off, but he would just stick with jeans. He would never wear the black trunks. Not in ECW, he just jeans. He was almost like their version of 911 at the time because 911 wasn't there anymore, right? So that worked. But no, Sycho Sid, the Sycho Sid run in '96, definitely my favorite. Two-time WWF champion. He'd go to WCW, become WCW US Heavyweight Champion, and two-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion. So Sid did hold some gold. Former USWA champion, you know, twice. So Sid did okay for himself. He probably should have did better when you look at him. He probably should have had more title reigns, or I don't know. His problem was he liked to go play softball apparently at times, and his wrestling career didn't really matter at that moment when softball season was around. So maybe if Sid took it a little more seriously, he may have done even better than what he did do. All right, so everyone, if you have any favorite Sycho Sid or Sid Justice or Sid Vicious moments or matches or anything, let me know. Of course, one of the weirdest ones for me was when Sid powerbombed Shawn Michaels like 3 or 4 times the night on Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania 11, thus making the Heartbreak Kid a good guy again. That was pretty neat to see. And put Shawn and Diesel back together, which was okay in my books, right? But yeah, that's just some interesting stuff there from Sid. Sid had a unique career and one that shouldn't get overlooked. And hopefully one day Sid will be in the WWE Hall of Fame. He rightfully deserves it. He does. He really does. He's a pretty cool dude in the ring, I have to say. All right, everyone. This is my video on the man who rules the world. You can call him Vicious. You can call him Justice. Just don't call him Sycho. Sid. And until I do my next one, I'll talk to you guys later.